Now, I'll talk about independent and freelance journalism in the digital age. The field of journalism today cannot be fully understood without acknowledging the growing number of journalists working as freelancers rather than as full time employees of media organizations. While freelance journalism is not a new phenomenon, its prevalence is increasing as traditional media outlets face shrinking audiences, cut staff, and outsource content production in response to a sweeping digital transformation across the industry. This rise in freelancing aligns with the broader trends in post industrial capitalism, where organizations seek workforce flexibility and agility, often to their own structural advantage. However, the category of freelance journalist is broad and difficult to define. Some freelancers thrive, enjoying the autonomy to choose their assignments and manage their own careers. Others, though, face intense competition that drives down pay, creates financial instability, and leads to irregular work. These challenges often force them to take on additional jobs, invest unpaid time in self promotion, and struggle to secure paid assignments. For many, long and demanding projects become economically unviable due to inadequate compensation, making the profession increasingly precarious for all but the most established. Freelancers today contribute to nearly every aspect of journalism across the globe and across all media platforms. In some cases, entire content production models rely primarily or even entirely on freelance labor. This shift carries significant implications for journalism education, which has traditionally focused on preparing students for roles within established news organizations. It also presents challenges for researchers, many of whom have yet to fully incorporate freelancers into their studies of journalism production, professional culture, practices, routines, and attitudes. So, how to define a freelance journalist? The term freelance is widely believed to have originated from Walter Scott's 1820 novel Ivanhoe, where freelances refer to medieval knights who were not bound to any single lord, king, or cause. These mercenaries were free to fight for whoever hired them, wielding their weapons independently. Similarly, freelance journalists today are independent contractors, self employed individuals who work both independently and for themselves. They offer their services to multiple clients without committing to long term contracts with any of them. So, freelancing in journalism can be a full time profession or a part time endeavor. Some freelancers contribute on a per piece basis, while others work as strangers, reporting as needed under contract with a news outlet. In conflict or crisis zones, local journalists often work as fixers, offering translation, news gathering, and logistic support to foreign correspondents. Many freelancers operate as sole proprietors, formally registering as one person business for tax or legal purposes. However, once they begin hiring staff, they are generally classified not as freelancers but as small business owners. Most academic studies on freelance journalists refer to these defining characteristics. Yet, there is less agreement on what specifically distinguishes a freelance journalist from other self employed media workers or media professionals. This distinction is more than semantic, it is essential for accurately researching and understanding the particular professional, ethical, and practical dimensions of freelance journalism. Now, the practice of journalism, freelance journalism, has its history. It dates back several centuries. Its origin are often traced to the late 1500 and early 1600 in Grub Street, London. During this period, rising literacy rates and significant social and political changes led to a growing public demand for reading material. To capitalize on this demand, printers and publishing houses sought content creators to fill their pamphlets, news books, and other publications. This need gave rise to a class of freelance writers who flocked to Grub Street in London and its surrounding areas. Over time, Grub Street became synonymous with the image of the hack writer, a hired paid writer often producing journalism or literature under pressure and for pay, with little regard for prestige or permanence. Now, the precarious lives all these freelance writers used to live. So, life for early freelancers was anything but easy. The classic image of the Grub Street writer is that of a destitute scribe living in a camped attic, eking out a fragile existence through low paid literary labor, including journalism. So it has been referred by Clark, 2004, page number 5 to 6. Their earnings were meager. They had no legal rights over their work and lacked any form of union or trade organization to protect their to protect their demands from exploitative publishers. Paris had its own version of Grub Street during much of 18th century, though it was a symbolic rather than a physical location. Danton described these French freelancers as poor hacks, striving for literary success while living in the city's garrets and gutters. Much like their English counterparts, Parisian writers were trapped between traditional publishers who paid little and pirate publishers who paid nothing at all. After Grab Street in 1829 to 1830, London officially renamed Grub Street, perhaps coincidentally, making a shift in the role of the freelance writer. During this period, journalism was evolving into a more structured industry. Newspapers were becoming commercial ventures, and advertisements or advancement in printing technology enabled mass production and distribution. Some freelance writers transitioned into steady roles as editors, lead writers, or specialist reporters, and began earning regular wages. However, many others were left behind, forced to work on a per piece basis as penny a liners, a term reflecting the paltry sums that they received for their article. For these early journalists, life remained as uncertain and financially unstable as it had been for the original Grub Street scribes. Even by the early 20th century, although pay had slightly improved, most of them still worked under contracts and could be dismissed without notice or compensation. Such insecurity often drove many into alcoholism, according to a journalist of that time. Nonetheless, freelancing persisted. Cohen, one media scholars, noted that for some, freelancing offered a way to escape the rigid structure of the newsroom and the dehumanizing experience of becoming part of a white collar proletariat. Rains, in her study of Irish women freelancers, observed that by the early 1900, there were thousands upon thousands of aspiring writers trying to place their work in newspapers and magazines. It was a buyer's market, and publishers used their dominance to justify paying minimal rates. The history of Canadian female journalists highlights a modest increase in women freelancing between 1931 and 1941. Aside from this and Rain's account, the historical record offers little about freelance journalists throughout the 20th century. However, parallels can be drawn from Osnowitz's brief history of freelance editorial workers in the US, the book publishing sector. After Second World War, the industry increasingly outsourced tasks to freelance editors, copywriters, and proofreaders, a trend that solidified their presence in the field of early 1980s. Now, the changing phase of journalism and media in India. From traditional platforms such as newspapers, films, radio, television, to today's internet driven smartphone and digital applications, media have become an omnipresent force shaping our daily lives. So, media are no longer just channels of communication, they have evolved into powerful social institutions and actors. In modern Indian history, journalism played a pivotal role, a crucial role. During the Indian independence movement, journalism united citizens, voiced the concerns of millions of people oppressed by colonial rule, and became a powerful instrument for revolutionaries and freedom fighters. Journalism was then driven by a mission to aid or to help the nation in gaining freedom. However, post independence, the priorities of journalism shifted as the newly formed nation faced enormous challenges such as maintaining national security, national integrity, dealing with refugee crisis, and ensuring national security. During the 1950s to 60s, journalism largely supported government policies, focusing more on national development and future possibilities rather than highlighting governmental failures. From 1970s onwards, journalism in India began to evolve. The media increasingly scrutinized government actions and highlighted societal issues. A renewed commitment to ethics and fearless reporting emerged. This was the most evident during 1975 emergency time, when the government attempted to suppress press freedom through censorship and legal intimidation. Despite state pressure, journalists continued to uphold their responsibility to the public, championing civil liberties and social justice. The 1991 liberalization, privatization, and globalization reforms, LPG reforms, marked a major turning point in Indian media sector. With India's transition from a protected economy to an open market, multinational corporations entered the country, introducing profit centric business models. This shift impacted journalism profoundly. The arrival of networks like Star Television symbolized the alignment of media with economic liberalization. Big corporations and private media houses thrived in this new economic environment. Before liberalization, mass communication in India was dominated by public service broadcasting. With the embrace of a free market economy, the media industry expanded rapidly. As of 2023 to 2025, the media and entertainment sector is valued at approximately 28 billion US dollar, growing annually at over 8% according to FICCI 2024 report.